You're listening to the Game Tenants Podcast.
Welcome to the Game Tenants Podcast, the undead adventures of two gory gamers and their quest for spooky cast stardom. This is episode 61, and I'm Church of the Gore Grinder, joined by my cannibalistic co-host, Justin, Cardboard Zero. How you doing?
It's so scary. Sorry, I was just eating my brother here because I'm a cannibal.
Yes.
No, I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling a little weird and spoopy. I think what we're going to do this week, I think we're going to keep it short and sweet, but informative and fun, because I think that's what people really tune in for. Informative and fun times.
And a little spooky.
Well, and spooky. Yeah, it's got to be a little, What is a man? A miserable pile of secrets, spooky. And with that, I would have to ask, as I tend to do, Church, how you been, man?
I've been excellent. This is, like many listeners, I'm sure, one of our favorite times of the year. I love everybody kind of embracing the horror and, the more spooky side of things for October, for Halloween. So
love Halloween.
And the weather is great, too. I love fall.
Well, lately the weather's been like one day it's 70, the next day it's 30, it snows, it sun's out.
Minnesota can't make up its mind. It's crazy. We did have snow over the weekend.
Yes, we did.
It's like, oh my God. But no, other than that, I'm doing great. Put out another pickup video trying to get caught up with that whole pickup video thing. So that was like stuff that I've got through my family at a thrift store. And then I got one more pickup video and then I'm caught up.
Nice.
After 2 months of doing only pickup videos, and hope to expand some other things. Gaming wise, it's only been Dragon Quest XI. I have crossed over the 100-hour mark, and I'm still having a great time. A lot of other longer games that I've played in like the last year or so, like once you get to a certain point, you're like, I kind of want the game just to wrap up. Where Dragon Quest XI, I'm enjoying the ride, and yeah, so they're and I think there's a good chance I might be finishing it up in the next day or two, because I think unless something happens, I don't know, just from what I've kind of heard without like getting things spoiled. And then just trying to enjoy some horror movies and try to get some horror gaming in. I haven't done the gaming, but watching some movies, that's always
Anything of note?
Not so much. I would say Summer of '84 for anybody who likes kind of
that was good.
Mystery, not quite slasher, but kind of takes in that genre, but throwback, kind of like '80s retro.
That's the one with like the kids dying and they're trying to that small town's trying to figure it out, and the kids.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just making sure, because we watched that about a month ago, and a fun fact about that: the guy who plays the cop, like the main cop in it, I went to school with him and his brother.
Oh, no way!
Yeah,
that's
his last name is Summers, or Summer, but it's like Sommers, Summers.
Sure, neat.
Yeah, I was. Little fun fact about me: I was in choir with his younger brother Ryan.
Wow, that's pretty neat.
That was kind of cool.
But yeah, a decent movie. Nothing too crazy. It's very grounded, which was I was expecting it to be a little bit more out there, considering the studio's previous movie was Turbo Kid, which if anybody hasn't seen that, like, highly recommend checking that out. Kind of a post-apocalyptic retro nostalgia trip that's gory and funny and just a good time. But this, pretty straightforward for the most part. But I will say towards the end of the movie, you always kind of get, in some of these instances anyways, you get like the bad guy monologue, and it was amazing. Like, kind of made the movie for me. I was like, oh, that's awesome. So, and I've been for the last few days now, I've been trying to watch the new Nicolas Cage movie, Mandy. I've been hearing nothing but great things about. So hopefully tonight or tomorrow, we'll see.
And also for people that, if you're interested in that summer of 84, what would be comparable to it if you don't know anything about it would be like Stranger Things. A little bit. It's got a style like that where they're trying to show you like, like Stranger Things had a very 70s, 80-ish vibe for the clothing, the style. I mean, it's not all weird sci-fi like Stranger Things story is, but that like style of movie. So if you like Stranger Things, you'll probably like the summer of 84. Yeah.
So enough about me, man. What have you been up to?
Oh gosh, golly. Been playing more of that Capcom beat 'em up. It's
excellent.
It's just fun. You pop it in. I played a little Captain Commando, and the other one that like we never got released. It's that like robot fighter one. I can't remember the name of it, but I played that. Been putting a little more. I'm not as nearly or even remotely close to where you are in Dragon Quest, but I plug some more hours into that.
Excellent.
What else? I played something else. I can't think of it. It was so good I can't remember.
Yeah.
No, I played something on my Super Nintendo. I can't think of what it, because I have one of those emulator carts, the 2D SDS, where it has like, you put the ROMs on the cart but it plays through your hardware. Everdrive.
Everdrive, yeah.
I was like, I know the word, but I can't remember what I played. Well, that just you guys at home can imagine that I played the best game. Whatever your favorite game is, that's what I played.
A hidden gem.
Yeah, and then last weekend I had a buddy come over and bring his Laserdisc player. We watched some really good Laserdisc movies, and one was called Nemesis. It was this really crappy movie I'd never heard of, and it was one of those bad goods. It's campy and low quality, but it's just like, wow, this movie is so terrible. It's awesome. I want more. So, yeah, we had a movie night. Been slowing down on Final Fantasy Online. Oh, excuse me. Not much going on there. School, and I'm kind of interested. I keep hearing about the new Halloween movie that's out, and that they brought the old cast back. And I'm waiting. I have a couple friends going to see it tonight, and if they tell me it's worth seeing, I'm going to try to go see it. Then if they, because I just like the Rob Zombie versions just like killed it. I was like, no, you bastardized Halloween. Like, out of all the old like 80s slasher horror films, Halloween's my favorite.
So I want to just chime in. So Halloween, I'm sure everybody knows what we're talking about. I've actually never really been, I like growing up in the 80s, like I loved my slasher movies. Like, one thing, and I've mentioned this a few times on the podcast, that I was not tooting my own horn or anything, but when I was younger, I was mature for my age, so my parents let me watch like a lot of these horror movies. Like when I was really little, like I essentially I grew up on horror movies. My dad was big into the classic stuff, think like old black and white monster movies and stuff, Universal movies, those were my childhood, like, my Sesame Street and stuff. So, yeah, I grew up with all the Halloween movies. I've seen all the Halloween movies. I've never really been crazy about Halloween like most people. Like, most people like Halloween way more than I do. The first Rob Zombie Halloween, I loved. The second Rob Zombie Halloween movie, I did not like.
I don't know if I want to be here for the next podcast with you saying these things.
There was really, I only had one real issue with the first Rob Zombie Halloween. I thought the assault scene was unnecessary,
Mm-hmm.
but everything else I thought was done well. And another when it comes to these horror remakes of legendary franchises, I vastly prefer the remake Texas Chainsaw Massacre over the original.
Okay, I can get behind that one.
Which a lot of people will be like, "Oh my God, fucking burn your house down."
Well, I mean, I get that. Like, I can understand and appreciate, like, Rob Zombie probably really loved. He grew up watching Halloween, really loved the series, and wanted to take, put his little weird, wacky spin on it. But it's like, I think Halloween for me, much like Friday the 13th and
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, thank you. Nightmare on Elm Street. I think they're good as they are. They were done in a time that worked. I can understand maybe a newer generation, a younger generation going, it's old crap, but it's like, that's fine. But like, I appreciate what Rob Zombie did, but I didn't like what he did. Like, no, you didn't need to redo it.
Yeah, and that's Hollywood these days.
Well, but I mean, I also think it's the fans too, like me. Like, any remake they attempt to do,
you're gonna watch it.
Well, I mean, you're gonna, but I mean, what I mean to say is, it'll never live up to what you hope a remake will be, and that's why I sometimes say, like, leave a sleeping dog lie.
Sometimes, I don't know. Another super unpopular opinion. Probably my favorite horror movie is the Dawn of the Dead remake, and there's a lot of people that despise that movie, and a lot of people that herald the original Dawn of the Dead as like one of the greatest horror movies ever made, which is great. But the remake, I fucking love the remake. Like, oh man,
it's not bad.
Like,
it's not bad.
That and 28 Days Later came out at the same time, and it was like, hey, let's what if zombies were fast? It's like, oh shit, fast zombies.
I'm gonna stop you there. They're technically not zombies. They have a super overactive. That's what I'm talking about. When you were like, oh yeah, well, what if zombies were? Oh, you're talking about the remake.
Dawn of the Dead had fast zombies too. The remake.
That's true. Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, the parking garage scene where like he dropped from the ceiling and just like he's like a triathlon runner. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, that destroys the Romero era.
Yeah.
But fair point. No, it was. I did like it.
Mm-hmm. And, one that just since we're on the topic of remakes, another. It's basically a remake, but it's not if you actually watch the movie and kind of know how it connects. Not better per se, but the Evil Dead remake. I loved the remake. The new one, it's not necessarily a remake, but it was great in its own right. The original's still great. It doesn't, get rid of the fact, and I'm not going to say I prefer one over the other because I think it kind of fits in a continuity. Because there's fucking obvious throwbacks in the movie, like referencing original events and stuff.
Well, as long as the Dodge is in there, I'm happy.
And but though I think those are good examples of worthwhile remakes. I think are few and far between for sure.
Well, I mean, like, did you ever see the Friday the 13th remake they did years ago?
Yeah.
I thought that was just garbage. Just garbage.
It didn't do anything for me. And I mean, like, Friday the 13th, it was, like, my jam. Like, that was my... I love Friday the 13th.
Oh, yeah. No, it's legendary.
Yeah, I don't know. There was potential, but they squandered it. I mean, it's not hard... It's not hard to do a Friday the 13th movie and make it interesting.
Well, I wouldn't say it's hard, but how do you come up with something that's going to appeal to people? Yeah. That's what I think is the hard part. It's, again, it comes down to people's expectations. Like when I remember when Michael Bay took on Transformers, I was like, holy crap, Transformers movie. And then it was like, what is this abomination you've given me?
Yeah.
And then he went into Ninja Turtles. I was like, yep, just keep killing my childhood. Just keep wrecking it one movie at a time, you idiot. And that's what he did.
Yeah, it'll keep happening. There's, more remakes coming out. We got, and again, they wouldn't do the remakes if we didn't keep watching them. I think it's part of it. But
well, I mean, it's the cycle Hollywood goes into.
Yeah.
Like they're not making a lot of good original content the last couple of years. They're just, oh, hey, this was popular. Let's make something like that, or let's bring that back.
And I think in the long run, you make a quality movie, it's going to be a quality movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always going to be a quality movie. You make a fucking schlock cash in, you're going to grab a few bucks, at first, and then nothing, because nobody wants to watch your garbage.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they'd be, I think they're short-sighted with a lot of this, the whole, quick profit.
It's not like the game industry is not suffering from the same thing.
Exactly, unfortunately. So, but one thing before we move on that I wanted to talk a little bit about, and some other people asked us to talk about, was our thoughts on the New World players Final Fantasy concert that we went to that we talked about last time.
Oh, for sure. Oh, go ahead. You can start.
It was fucking great. Straight up, like I'm not a big like orchestral person. I have some like symphonic soundtracks of games, but I don't necessarily like seek out orchestral versions. But when it comes to listening and seeing an orchestra, for me, are two completely different things. Some listeners might not know, but I am big into live music. Big into metal. I go to a metal concert like every month, and I've been doing that for many years. There's gaps in between. It's probably like more like every other month, or pretty damn close to every month. And I love live music, and seeing an orchestra isn't much difference for me. Seeing people play music is just amazes me. I can live vicariously through what I'm watching, because I can't do that myself, and I just love music. And seeing these people play these, beautifully arranged songs, some technically challenging stuff, like the solo pianist that they have was like, there's many times I wanted to stand up and metal horns, like, fuck yeah, shouts, because he's tearing it up with some of them solos. He was amazing. It was great, and they played pretty good coverage of stuff. Something from a good chunk of the games, some great, some of my favorite themes, some of your favorite themes. I know you were hyped that they played a 14 song.
Yep, I played Heaven's Ward. Yep, which was one of the actual piano solos that the guy did.
Yeah, and so a little bit more about this group compared to the main Distant Worlds group. Would you kind of just want to explain that, because you can do it better than I can, to the listeners?
Okay, so when Square Enix decided, hey, let's put the band together and have them start touring, it started off in Japan, and then by popular demand, they're like, let's take this on the road. And so the original started off with Distant Worlds concert, which was I believe, an orchestra. When they're in Japan, they have a Japan orchestra, but when they tour, they have this like Pennsylvania Symphony, group. But and I forget the guy's name who is the main conductor, but he's really good. And for a lot of the songs, what they've done is, if they have English vocals, if they did put them original English vocals, they have a woman, Susan Calloway, and she'll tour with them too, and she'll sing a lot of she will sing the lyrics out. She's done a lot of songs for Final Fantasy XI, which was the first MMO they put out, which have a lot of beautiful vocal songs in them. And they were 14 and 11 are the two MMOs in the Final Fantasy category. And Nobuo Uematsu didn't do all of the music for them, but he would do like the main big pieces that had lyrics to them. So that's the bigger one. Like that's a full symphony. Like it's huge. Like, and I would love to go see one day.
And that's Distant Worlds.
That's Distant Worlds. Yep. What we went and saw was the New World Players, which is a very, very, like, literally you have one person, one instrument for all the sections, and that's it. So it's a more intimate experience. It's a smaller, but quality nonetheless.
Yes.
The piano player that was with them is the main piano player that plays with the Distant Worlds concert people. And, he was even selling his own CD that he had there, which we didn't buy, but I'm sure it was amazing nonetheless of his own stuff. I don't know if it was video game related, but it's probably just his own music created. But it was fun. The only thing that sucked was the bar because it wasn't a lot of people, but yet it took us, me and Church here, like 20 minutes to get a beer before, like a half an hour before the concert even started, which was like, does the bartender not know how to like pump out beer from a tap?
Yeah,
Come on,
they had like, and then what was funny about it is this is a venue that's hosts music, like regular concerts and stuff. So the bar itself, like they should know better. They had one person essentially serving drinks. I go to metal concerts at this venue quite often, and they'll have multiple bartenders like serving drinks. And then it just created this big long line, and we wait like 20 minutes to get a drink. It's like, come on. I mean, it's an orchestra, so I mean, people getting beers and stuff. It's like maybe they view it as like whatever. You guys don't need to be drinking or something. I don't know.
You nerds, when's your mom picking you up from this thing?
Yeah. I mean, I don't need to have a drink, but it's you go out. I mean, exactly. We went out. You want to relax a little bit, take the edge off. Boom, throw a little alcohol down your gullet. Yeah, it's funny because like in the last month, 2 months, I've been there for three other shows.
Oh, okay.
So, it's I don't know. That was weird, but I really like this venue. It sounds great. Like the music sounded fantastic. Like the sound guy that they have at this venue, the Amsterdam in St. Paul, Minnesota. Like, good venue.
Yeah, no, it was a fun venue. Me and Church had a really good time. Excuse me. Like I say, it was. I definitely loved going. I'm glad because a lot of my friends that do play video games, and even some that do like Final Fantasy, that's like, hey, you want to go see these people play? Like, no. And Church was like, well, anybody want to go to this in a week and a half? I'm like, yep, I'll go. And so it turned out we went out and had something to eat. I tried Raising Cane's for the first time.
Chicken place.
I mean, for some of you out there that know what that is, it's a chain restaurant, and all they serve is chicken fingers and like sides. So like you can't get a burger there because they don't serve burgers. But you want chicken fingers or chicken tenders, and they don't have different sauces. They have their own like Raising Cane special sauce, which was good, but like you can't get a barbecue. You couldn't get a buffalo. I'm just like, I think you really dropped the ball, but it was good. I had coleslaw and some Texas toast. So it was, for a chain restaurant that does chicken fingers, it was all right. I mean, was it terrible? No. Was it fantastic? No. It was, the price was right for what they offered.
Yeah. It's one of the...
Sorry to cut. We should have seen us in the car deciding, he's like, Leanne Chins, because... So as a little side note, I'll let Church take over for this, but because me and him really love Mexican food, love it. But we had there's this place called Nacho Libre. They do Taco
Libre.
Nacho
Libre is the Jack Black character, and
you're right. I completely thank you for embarrassing me on the podcast. I appreciate that. And it's a video game, I think, too. Oh no, that's Guacamole. I can't even get it. See, I love Mexican food so much, it just all blends into one. But so we were deciding, and I'm just like, well, if you don't want Mexican, let's do some Asian. And Church's favorite Asian place. Go ahead, take it away.
Yeah. Not too crazy, but yeah, there's this Asian place in the town I live by. It's called Great Moon, and you'd think it'd just kind of be your standard chain, like, privately owned, whatever, little Asian buffet. And what's really cool about this place is they have a Mongolian grill. And what a Mongolian grill is, for somebody who might not be familiar, is essentially they have this big metal plate, and you go through this kind of little buffet thing, and you pick, like, shavings of meat, vegetables and noodles and sauces, and then they cook it on this grill, and it takes just a few minutes because it's like super hot, and like essentially stir fry if you think about it, but you can make it your own. Like, I'm not like a sauce guy, so I don't have to do sauces, so I just get meat and put a little oil and whatever. It's amazing. I love it. I used to go to this place every single weekend for years and years and years, and get takeout because it was way cheaper than eating in, and you can get like twice as much food. But earlier this year, somebody on the local community page for the town, and I'm in that Facebook group, posted a video of a cockroach climbing on the wall. And I'm like, that's unfortunate. And then it was a few weeks later, somebody posted a picture that they had found a cockroach in their fried rice that they got for takeout. They ordered ahead. So I haven't heard anything, no follow-ups, like if anything's been done or if anything was reported. I don't know how to go about figuring that information out. If I just call them and be like, hey, you guys dealt with your cockroaches? Because I really miss eating there.
Have you guys taken care of your problem yet? Because I want to come back. It's messed up. And why the conversation of like food places comes up is where Justin lives. He doesn't have as many options. He's a little bit outside of the cities, about a half an hour drive. So not a huge distance, but when he comes down to hang out, I'm in a suburb, and why not take advantage of the situation, get some good food that you normally can't get. So it's not like I was like, dude, Raising Cane's best thing ever, or like Lian Chin's is like, Lian Chin's is a alternative because I can't eat my favorite place because I don't want cockroaches in my food. I mean, I never saw a cockroach, but the fact is that's a huge sanitary issue. Cockroaches are disgusting. I mean, I'll be fine, I'm sure, if I eat some food, but you could get sick. It's just if you're a place that serves food, there's a level of quality consideration you need to take, and I have moral issues with a place that is dirty enough to have cockroaches. They need to deal with that. So yeah. So hey, no one can fault you that. I mean, like I say, a lot of people would be like, yep, nope, not going there again.
Breaks my heart.
So, but don't worry, guys. We're going to talk about video games. Don't worry. We're going to talk about video games.
Absolutely.
Next week.
Well, let's talk about what about a retro video game? Let's talk about a retro video game.
It's my turn to do this, and I had to think of one, and one that came to mind right away was Jumping Flash for the PlayStation.
Ooh, I wonder why that's on your mind.
Honestly, it's just for no particular reason. It was just like, retro games, we've done some obvious ones that are good and all that, but like I just remember Jumping Flash was one of the first probably like 5 or 10 titles that I played for when the PlayStation came out. Mm-hmm. I believe it was on a demo disc. I was like, this is kind of weird. And then there was a store, a video game store in town that rented video games, but it wasn't like a video store like you could rent movies. It was like a mom and pa, buy and sell video games. And then he would also rent the games too. Mm. So I remember renting it and just be like, wow, this is actually really cool. It's a little first-person shooter. You're this little metal robot. You're this little metal rabbit robot, and you can shoot lasers and different fireworks at all these different mobs, and you collect coins, and you can jump. And if I remember correctly, a lot of people that talk about it actually got motion sickness from it because the frame rate's so low and the perspective changes so quickly. People are like, I'm going to go throw up now. I can't. I'm like being on a roller coaster for them. But I really liked it. It was really cool because you could either jump on the monsters to kill them, or you shoot them with your little bunny lasers, or your special items were like bottle rockets or the little little spinny fireworks that you put on the ground and they spin around and light up. And it was a really neat game. You know, it was what is it? Polygon 3D. So it was in that early stage where it was like terrible.
Yes. Not, early tech, early 3D.
Exactly. Well, I'm not saying like, oh boy, it aged well. God, no. But
and it's actually one of the games that was announced of the initial 5 that's going to be on the PlayStation Mini.
Exactly. So it's always had a special place in my heart. I own both of them on the PlayStation 1, and they're both fun. They're both they're just like a zany, stupid, funny game. But I liked the gameplay because you can run around. It's platforming. But they did it really well. So like when you jump, it almost kind of like it doesn't go in a slow-mo, but it feels like it slows down. So you can like judge where like if platforms are moving and you're trying to aim on one, it feels like you have a chance. It's not just like, oh, whoop, the camera sucks, I can't do this. Like no, It was a really well-made game. So, and it was cute. I just you make little like when you walk and stuff. So they even have like little funny, cute noises for the robot, and it's just funny that this robot goes from planet to planet trying to find this evil scientist and stop him.
Right on.
It was like Sony's version of Mega Man, except a robot, a rabbit.
Rabbit.
So that's my retro highlight. Is if you haven't played it or you don't know anything about it, it's called Jumping Flash. Definitely watch some YouTube videos on it, and if you think you'd like it, I mean, it's relatively cheap. You could probably pick up a copy for like $5-10 anywhere.
Yeah, and for the collectors, like you got that long box
for number 1. Yep,
I want that. I don't have it.
I
really played the demo myself.
I had a disc only of number 1, and then I upgraded to the long box. Luckily, I found a guy in one of the Facebook groups and got it because it was like right before it got pop. Like I don't know why certain games you're like, oh, that was a fun game, nobody really cares about it, and then when you go to buy it, it's like everyone's talking about it all of a sudden. It's like, oh crap, I gotta
somebody
get
did a video
probably. So yeah,
cool. Yeah, for sure. We got not a whole lot of news stuff that I thought was particularly fascinating. It seems like a lot of discussions just kind of go in cycles right now. There's various Smash Brothers talks, Red Dead Redemption, Fallout 76. But there's a couple things that I thought were worth mentioning, so we'll just kind of run through those, and then got a little segment that we'll go into.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, first thing here is just a little update to the whole Telltale Games thing. Of course, most of you have probably heard, if you've listened to previous episodes, we talked about this. Telltale is essentially shut down. They had originally fired a majority of their staff, keeping about 25 people on to finish some active projects. It sounded like one of them was an interactive Netflix Minecraft deal. But all the other games were basically done, and they just recently fired those last, or let go of those last remaining staff. And then what was interesting is when that was announced, Robert Kirkman, who is the original creator of The Walking Dead, has his own company, Skybound Entertainment, who apparently has stepped in and I don't know whatever they did, but they are going to be finishing The Walking Dead, the Telltale game, and they said they are working to bring in as much of the original staff to work on that as they can. So that is pretty neat, I thought.
Yeah, I'd read that too, that they're going to finish up the last season. A lot of people were worried about that, but I mean, overall, as the topic is, like, it's not a move that I'm surprised by. That they're like, oh, the rest of you, like, when they laid off, like, literally, like, more than half the original in the first round. It was
like 250.
Or yeah, so it was just a matter of time. Like, they're not like, oh, we're minimizing and do smaller, but like, no, we're shutting the doors down. So.
But part of it was, there is speculation that part of it was a knee-jerk reaction from Telltale management, because pretty much once they did that initial layoffs, they found themselves under various threats for lawsuits for violations of
Mm-hmm.
labor laws and like worker ethics laws. So they might have, got rid of the rest of the people just so they could focus on one thing or something. I don't know. Whatever. Fuck
It still
Telltale
sucks,
management.
but
Yeah.
I mean, I feel bad for the people that lost their jobs, and I hope they, I know a lot of other companies were like kicking in saying, well, we'll pick up some of these people. So I hope a lot of those people either, get new contracts with other companies or, find work, because it's a rough business. I remember being younger and always wanting to be a game designer or something involved with gaming to make them. And I just, as I got older and started looking into college and all that, my first time around, it was like, yeah, no, that doesn't sound fun at all.
Yeah,
I'm glad the glamorous world I thought it was going to be.
Yep, contract work.
It's kind of like that saying, like, never meet your heroes, because they might end up not being what you want them to be.
Yeah.
So that's what it turned out to be. It was like, huh?
Said, or have good heroes.
Yeah, well, but yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm glad some the fans are going to get their last season. Well, obviously whenever that comes through.
Yeah.
But so
potentially, we'll see. It's nothing set in stone at this point. But so with some things going away, sometimes they come back.
Ooh.
And we recently got news that Konami, oddly enough, relaunched the Suikoden series website. Whoa, what does that mean? Who knows? It's a thing.
I see. I was kind of surprised when I read it when they're like, Konami opened it up. I was like, wasn't this a fan-made? I thought at one time it was a fan-made site, but then I looked into it. I was like, oh no, I guess it wasn't. So, I mean, but obviously, let the was it Plinko or Pachinko?
Pachinko, yes.
Let the Pachinko jokes start flowing, because that was the first thing I saw when I saw the story. It was like, get ready for Suikoden Pachinko machines, because they're coming.
Absolutely, probably.
It's like, God, it's like Suikoden's one of my favorite RPG series. It's probably my top 3. And
so what I kind of suspect, and I haven't read this anywhere, I haven't seen any videos on it. Maybe other people have already talked about this, so I'm not, I'm seriously, I haven't read anything about this. My guess would be, okay, so coincidentally, they just like recently relaunched the Castlevania site. So maybe, since the other Suikoden games were on Sony platforms, maybe Sony's like, hey, we want a Suikoden HD compilation or a collection.
Oh God, please.
So fingers crossed, that's kind of where I'm at. Is I'm hoping that this leads to probably just a re-release, which would be great because, of course, Suikoden 2 is ridiculously expensive.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of them are considerably affordable.
5 is up there. I mean, not nearly as high as 2, but yeah, 1 is relatively, it's affordable. 3 is dirt cheap. 4 is dirt cheap, and 5 kind of goes back up. And the DS one rose in price for a while too.
Mm. And it'd be a good way to kind of like, reinvigorate the series at the same time, because there's a lot of people that have never had the chance to play them. There's younger audiences and so on and so forth. I don't think it much like the Castlevania Requiem, I don't think this is necessarily going to say, oh, hey, this is going to be a gauge of interest if they're going to make another game, because I don't think a re-release is a way to gauge interest in a potential new sequel to a series. But when a lot of these older series are no longer accessible, I think it's great to get that access, especially, kind of related to the piracy or emulation discussion. Accessibility is huge. People don't mind spending some money if you make it easy.
Well, I mean, at the same time, though, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, if people, for one, if people were wondering like, oh, we'll be able to fit all the Suikodens on one disc, you certainly can. They just, I mean, for those of you, if you have it or you forgot about it, Dot Hack did it. Mm-hmm. They took 3 PS2 games, popped them on one PS4 disc, and it was amazing. I love being able to play these games. So to put a compilation disc of either Castlevania or Suikoden, like, sign me up. Like, here's my money. I don't care. Here, take it. I want the thing. So it. But I mean, from what I was reading and following for a lot of people was, I think with the Dot Hack release of all, the Dot Hack GU series, not the original 4, it's only 3 series. People were saying, God, that was so good. I hope they put the first 4 on one disc and kind of HD touch that up. And I was like, yeah, that would be really cool. It really would. I hope they do that. And, you hear rumors, you hear murmurings, people, oh, yeah, what is that? Something Connect, the company that does the Dot Hacks, Cyber Connect. You hear, oh, yeah, they got really good attention and they really like their sales. They might do the first 4. But so, I mean, if they do, if only thing that comes out of this is a compilation disc, I'll take it. I'll be happy.
Yeah,
I'll be a happy little RPGer. And so nothing wrong with that. But as far as getting my hopes up and going, we're getting a new Suikoden entry, I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
Because there's no new Castlevania. There's no new nothing. I mean, if they're going to make a couple bucks off just HD touching up stuff, I'm all for it.
Yeah, for sure. I don't mind. When that's a strong focus at the beginning of a console's life cycle, that it seems like it's all just remasters and stuff, like that kind of sucks. But it is, like, again, like I said, accessibility, especially for some of these kind of forgotten series, I think it is a great thing, as long as they do them right. Maybe not like Silent Hill HD collection, like that fucking shit show. But yeah,
I mean, for the normie gamer that doesn't want to have 18 consoles on hand to play a lot of this stuff, it works.
Yes,
because
sure.
you get a couple Silent Hills on one disc or any type of game series that you might like without having to go back, find the originals, if the console even works. If you have a PS3 and that's all you have, boom, that's a great way to play it for a decent price.
Yeah, for sure. Then some more news that I mean, it's not like news, but I'm hyped about is there will be a physical version of Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, December 4th. For PS4 and Xbox One, which
this isn't that samurai game you were talking about last time, where it's like a side-scrolling samurai game?
No, that was
game or something?
Bushiden.
Okay.
Hellblade is that was the recent Ninja Theory game, came out last year. Kind of the big thing with the game was that, like, its presentation of psychosis. It was the Norse mythology game. You play as there's a female lead, and she hears voices. Got a lot of buzz last year. I'm surprised if you missed it. You should definitely check it out. It's an awesome game.
Okay.
Ninja Theory also did Enslaved: Odyssey to the West, which was a really good game, and then Heavenly Sword, which was an early PS3 game.
Yep.
Great. I really like their stuff. And Hellblade was fantastic. Really good game. Smaller scale, but a lot of passion put into it.
No, I'll definitely look into it. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's really all the kind of like news stuff that.
Actually, I just remembered something I'm going to throw in there. I happened to see it on Facebook today. I don't like the company. I mean, not that they're a bad company. They don't do anything wrong. The way they do things and the way they handle ordering. But apparently Limited Run Games is teaming up with this company that makes cables and other accessories for older games. They're taking pre-orders exclusively for this company that makes these cables for an HDMI cords for your PS1 and your PS2s.
Yes.
It must be some kind of built-in upscaler. So, but it's allowing you to play your PS1 and your PS2 on your newer HD TVs. Yes. I'm not going to say it's going to be as good as like a FrameMeister, but
no, it's not. From my understanding, I'm not super good with the technical details of a lot of these display technologies, but I believe PlayStation 2 is 240p. system.
With component, wouldn't it go up to 480i?
I think it goes up to 480i with component cables, where this device, I believe, makes it 480p.
Well, I mean, either way, I mean, like I say, I'm like you. I'm not a technical guy. I don't know like all the inner workings and how to say it right. But basically, it's giving you a clean signal to an HD TV where hooking it up through the analog cables, you know, your standard RCA jacks or your component. Component's a little bit better, but you're getting a cleaner picture with an HDMI cable. So, I mean, like I say, it's not as good as a straight up FrameMeister, which is a up converter signal. You plug your normal cables in, and then it HDMI's out to a newer TV, and it adjusts it for widescreen better, and it cleans up the image a little bit. It's, you know, without a hard mod to the hardware, you're not gonna really get anything else out of it. But hey, the cables are like $30. You know, and if you want an easier, more convenient way to be able to just like slap your PS2 to your 60-inch Samsung flat screen, bam, and you're getting a decent picture out of it. So, really can't complain. But as people were noting, and I thought too, I was like, oh, that's kind of weird that they're selling these. I don't think I didn't do a lot of research. Like I say, I literally just happened to see the listing in my Facebook feed from Limited Run. And some people were asking the question without getting an answer was, well, let's say you have like all versions of PS3s play PS1 games.
Yes.
And that has built in an upscaler in the or whatever software that kind of makes it look a little bit better. I think you can like turn it from like you can turn the graphics to smooth, so it smooths out the like jagged polygons a little bit and whatnot. But nobody, I mean, there was only like 20 comments because it was a fresh post, so I don't think anybody's figured it out. But people were just wondering, is this going to be better quality with these cables from your original hardware than it would be just plopping in a PS1 disc in your PS3? Or if you're lucky enough to have an original Gen 1 PS3 that plays PS2s.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be better. And I just pulled up some information just so I'm not like totally talking out of my ass the whole time.
Perfect.
PlayStation 2 displays 240p. This device will upscale to 720p.
Wow. These cables?
Yes.
I might pre-order some then.
This says
as long as there's not a frame rate drop, I might pick a setup for my PS2.
I think it just like, I'm sure there's like some tech built into it, but it says 480i signal upscaled to 720p, and they have a little comparison. And they kind of talk about it on the site. So there's a little bit of information. That's kind of what I heard. I wasn't sure if it was like that was upscaling to like 480 or something, 480p, but it's 720p. Of course it's not like, the main thing is it's not a FrameMeister. And a FrameMeister you're going to spend hundreds of dollars on. This is $30.
Well, and to be fair, the FrameMeister wasn't really like when it first came out there, because there's like 2-3 different versions of the FrameMeister, and the latest one is like he's saying, it's like $150 to $200, brand new. I mean, you can probably find someone selling one used, but you have so much more cable roping, because what you're supposed to do is take either your coax connection or your basic RCA connection, you plug it into the FrameMeister, and then from the FrameMeister you want to get a SCART cable. And if you guys want to know more about that, it's SCART, SCART. It was originally a European standard, and but there's a Japanese SCART and there's a British or UK SCART, and you can't get the wrong. It gets once I looked, because I thought it was just buy this device and it'll upscale all your retro consoles with HDMI. I'm like, perfect. And then I started reading it and talking to people who were big into it, and they're like, oh no, you need to have the best signal a console will put out cable-wise going into the FrameMeister, and then you have to basically go get one of those PMVs or whatever, those old like news TV, those monitors that like, oh, they're the best picture, and then you have to get a SCART cable to the.
I would say
It's a
keep
lot
it
of
simple. Anybody who isn't familiar and wants to learn more, look up a channel, My Life in Gaming. They do a great series on display options, and they covered the FrameMeister and they covered SCART, like pretty much as good as you could hope for.
Well, and the nice thing is too, they do a lot of, if I remember correctly, they do a lot of side by sides. Like this is what it originally looked like on a tube TV, standard cables and everything. Now here's a side by side of what it looks like with the FrameMeister SCART cables on a professional monitor. You could tell that, like, but it's mostly to get the eye pop out of your older consoles, like your NES, your Genesis, your Sega Master, like those systems. Once you started getting into like digital the CDs and that kind of technology, it doesn't do much for it. It'll clean it up still, but not as good as like watching your Super Nintendo graphics like pop out of the screen.
Right. And fun fact, I can't remember exactly what the video is off the top of my head, but actually I just found it. They did an episode called Gaming on CRTs and PVMs, and when they were making the episode, they asked people if anybody had pictures of them playing on a CRT or a PVM when they were kids, if they'd send it into them. And I had a picture of me playing Kid Nicky on the NES.
Oh, nice.
And I sent it in, and my picture, among some others, is on their episodes. I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. Fun stuff.
Dude, that's awesome.
So, yeah. As far as regards to that cable, I was strongly debating about getting it. At least when we're recording this episode, we record on Thursday evenings typically. Tomorrow, Limited Run is doing the Dragon's Lair collection for PS4, which is cool. If anybody doesn't know, I fucking love Dragon's Lair. Just something I've always been fascinated. Like that was kind of like my love of FMV games, and having an HD version of Dragon's Lair 2, and Space Ace, I thought would be pretty sweet. And of course, they got a little collector's edition. But I was like, hey, I'm already ordering this. Maybe I should just order that HD PS1 adapter. So I might. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm actually, after we're done here, I'm gonna, now that I know it'll upscale to 720. Granted, like I say, take upscaling with a grain of salt. It doesn't just make it look perfect. But for $35, I'm definitely gonna get a PS2 one, because then, yet again, like I say, oh, what does the PS do? PS2 do? Plays PS1 games, so I don't have to buy one for my PS1.
Right.
I'll just cheat.
Well, it's the same. It's the same cable. Like the cable works for PS1 and PS2.
Oh, but
yeah.
Oh, well, then never mind. I thought, because the way the listing had it, it looked like there was one for the PS1 and one for the PS2.
Okay, now we got to double check.
No, you're probably right. It's probably just works for both, because you are right. The serial cable, the serial cable was the same port on both.
Works with the PlayStation 1, PSX games on the PlayStation 2, and the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, because that would be
weird wording.
That would be a hell of a lot easier than having to like pull the TV away from the wall, make sure I'm plugging the component ports for my PS2 in the right one. It's like HDMI, boom, done.
But actually, it kind of makes me curious. I was just kind of thinking, so this plugs into the PlayStation itself. You don't use your PlayStation's cable.
No, yeah, it's a completely new cable.
Yeah, so that's cool. Very cool, I think. There's actually, for the people that have it, the Elgato capture device, the Elgato HD, you can do various inputs to capture pretty much all your consoles. And it had actually a specialty cable for the PlayStation D terminal, that's what it's called, which gives you the highest signal. You can get the 480i or whatever, which is kind of neat. Another way of getting a nice picture if you just happen to have an Elgato.
Oh, hell yeah.
So then we didn't really come up with any particular kind of segment or topic this week. I always think it's cliche as it may be. It's always fun to kind of talk about more Halloween related, horror related stuff that time of the year. We've already talked about some movies a little bit.
Some spoopiness.
Spoopiness.
Don't ask us what that means.
Yeah, I don't know why it's so popular. It's just getting more and more spoopy. But I figured, let's kind of, it's always fun to retread this topic. So I thought it'd be fun to talk about some horror games or anything kind of like Halloweenish outside of the ordinary. Because, of course, when we talk about horror games and whatnot, you got to mention, the must plays, the Resident Evils, the Silent Hills, Dead Spaces. But, there's a lot of games that, don't necessarily get mentions. Or sometimes they do. But, hey, let's mention them again. So I just wanted to kind of talk about a couple random games and just kind of see where the conversation goes.
Well, with that being said, it's so the game isn't really sold as it's not a quote unquote horror game, but I remember playing it when I was younger, and it was one of those games like you needed a walkthrough, but the internet wasn't that big yet, so it's kind of hard to get a walkthrough. And it's Police Quest 4. It's technically FMV, but not like.
Yeah, it's an adventure game, right?
Well, it's a point and click.
Yes.
So like Space Quest, Police Quest,
yep.
That Monkey Island, where you kind of like have to move your character, like King's Quest, the Sierra games, those old Sierra point and click games. Yeah. And then you have to like type out like open door. The door is open now.
Yes.
So it's Police Quest 4. I think it's called Open Season, and you're a detective and you have to figure out this murder. But there's a lot of scary parts in it, like you don't even get like, I think it's just like, oh, crime's on the rise and you're a detective trying to stop it. So you literally start off in this alleyway at a crime scene, and once you go to open up the dumpster, it just turns to this gruesome scene of this young boy just brutally murdered and tore up on top, and the music like this like loud screeching scary music. I was just like, and there's other parts in the game where you have to like crawl through the dark and stuff, and as you move your flashlight and just something comes at it's like I just remember being, when I was younger, it really frightened me. I was just like that. I mean, like I had nightmares about some of the scenes in that game, because some of them are very graphic. And just like I think in what was it, one of the SWAT games, there was one guy who made them all. He made the SWAT series and the Police Quest. Like there's a young kid graveyard in like some dude's basement or something that you come across. Like it's very disturbing. So some of the games, he said he took inspiration from some of the cases he worked on as like a sergeant in the California Police Department or something like that. I forget his name, but it's like I say, it's not a horror game by any means, but like just some of the scenes and some of the like the way they set the atmosphere really, really frightened the crap out of me. So that would be one of my honorable mentions right off the bat.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, that was kind of along the lines of exactly what I was thinking, is some of the non-traditional stuff. So kind of relating to a game that we talked about a few episodes ago as a retro game highlight is the original Tenchu Stealth Assassins. Not a horror game, but later on in the game, you go from having your standard like samurai and whatever kind of guys just wandering around to these levels that have these little demon dudes. They basically look kind of like giant burned babies.
Oh god, those things. Yeah.
And they do this like weird like arm swing and shuffle as they walk, and not outright horror by any means. It's just like a creepy dude, but I think added to those levels, Tenchu, you're a stealth assassin, so these are night levels. PlayStation 1, so you have this kind of open area town.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we didn't have good draw distances, so everything is, you got the the wall of black and the fog to cover up those draw distances, just kind of escalating the tension. And especially if you're kind of playing the game how it's intended, where you're really trying to be getting through these levels without getting spotted and stealth killing all the enemies, like really escalates the tension. And I always thought, like, I'm like the most like desensitized person there is. Like nothing. There's not a scary movie. There's not games aren't really scary. But it's what I call it. I call it the creeps, because that's the best way I can explain it. Because it kind of makes me like a little unsettled, but I'm not like gonna have like nightmares and stuff myself. Just that's just my history. But that was always one of those like sections in a game that just kind of. It's creepy, and it's a little bit unnerving, and the tension.
Well, it's because when you bring up the like demon baby things, like it reminds me of Dante's Inferno on the dead baby level. It's just like, ugh.
Dead baby level. Interesting too is even though I was gonna say I wasn't gonna talk about this, the original Silent Hill like also had like the little kind of like dead burnt babies.
Dude, that game. Number one.
Knives. Yeah, I remember the first time playing that. I was like, "Oh my, holy crap! Little fucking demon babies with knives coming after me."
Oh god, I remember the first time because you're in the school, the first your major searchable areas of that school, and like
yes,
and I hate games that do that like forced viewing, like you can only really see what the flashlight sees, and it's just like you just hear these like you're like, what the hell was that? And then like you kind of turn around and you're like, well, there's nothing there. Okay, it's because they crawl so fucking slow at you. It takes them forever to get there, but then you're like, oh, okay, well that was nothing. It's just a creepy sound effect. You turn around, there's like 3 of them. Like, you're like, oh my god, what the hell is that?
Yeah,
so definitely creepy for sure. Oh yeah,
yeah. So one other game that I just kind of wanted to mention, not. Although I think there is some people I've seen some debates whether this game falls into a horror genre or not, and that is Half-Life 2. Definitely a sci-fi game, but there is a particular segment in Half-Life 2 where you visit the city of Ravenholm.
Yep, and
it's awesome. Like one of my favorite sections in the game. Has one of my favorite like kind of like quotes. We don't go to Ravenholm anymore, and it's fun. It's not a whole lot is different from much of the rest of the gameplay. You still have the guys with the infected head crab, the guys who have the head crabs that have like latched onto them.
Well, I think that's the first time you even really see just the normal head crabs, and they start jumping at you.
Yeah.
They're not just like crawling around. Like, no, it's just like, oh, you're in the area, and they just like fly at you. It's like, oh
yeah,
god.
They introduce I can't remember the version. The basically kind of like they're the slim, the fast infected head crab guys that can like crawl up walls and stuff. Ooh. And then being a darker environment.
No.
The darker environment. You got the gravity gun. They got the big buzz. Saw blades, the circular saw blades that you can use to like hack the enemies in half. Like just a fun scene. And one of my really good friends, he loves Half-Life, and he I don't think he ever got past that part. He's like, yeah, it's just too spooky for me. I'm out. He won't play horror games.
Actually, there's a not to cut you off, like a quick question. Have you ever been too freaked out of a game where you just like, I can't go any further? I'm done. Like,
not that I quit a game, but where I'm like, I think I'm good for the night. And that would be I want to say it might have been Silent Hill 1, but definitely there's moments in Silent Hill 2 where I'm just like, okay, I'm good. I'm just gonna watch something a little bit more light. And the original release of Doom 3 kind of got my creep factor up for the night.
Okay, yeah.
And why I say the original version of Doom 3 is a lot of people play the BFG version of Doom 3, and they changed basically the whole main game mechanic in it, where the original version of Doom 3, you either had your flashlight up or you had a gun up. You couldn't have both. And the game was dark and always putting you in like these claustrophobic situations. I loved the atmosphere of it. And I'll be honest, I haven't played the BFG version of Doom 3, but I really have to imagine that detracts a lot from that tension and that kind of atmosphere building where you gotta use your muzzle flash when you're getting attacked by enemies to kind of deal with some of these areas. It's not the whole game was dark, but just certain segments. But there was some, both of those games kind of got me like I said, I wasn't scared. I could have kept playing, but I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling pretty tense. I want to relax now. I've been on edge for the last 2 hours that I've been playing, so. I'm pretty sure it was just those two for like taking a break kind of games, but nothing ever like, nope, I'm out.
So Silent Hill 1 actually did that to me. Like I say, I remember making my way through the quote unquote light side of, like I said, that school, like the first school you're in. And once I remember like going into the dark version of it, I was like, nope, it gets darker. No, fuck that. I remember I stopped the game, never played it till many years later. Yeah, the siren. Yep. I was like, nope, I'm done. I literally quit that game right there and never played. I think I just beat it like 2-3 years ago.
Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3. Like I'm pretty sure they all probably kind of did that a little bit for me because those were just such well-crafted games. I like some of the later releases in the series too. A lot of people don't, but yeah, that's good shit. They always get mentioned for a reason. But and it's been quite a while since I played this game. So some of my details are going to be a little fuzzy. I'm kind of going off of, my retained feelings of the game. The original Tomb Raider, a lot later in the original Tomb Raider, they kind of pull in a lot of supernatural sections, and with the in the original Tomb Raider, the stakes were death, and because the game didn't take it easy on you. The original Tomb Raider game is a brutal game, and especially later once you start getting with the I don't know what the hell they were. They're like, I always thought they were like old gladiators or something. And then, like, especially like the end boss, the last boss in the original Tomb Raider, just this big creepy ass monster.
I was going to say, to add to that, like, honestly, the first time I saw the T-Rex scared me because the PlayStation had terrible draw distance, so it wasn't like, oh, I see it in the background just chilling waiting for me to engage with it. It was just like you're walking and the darkness is scrolling with you, and all of a sudden this fucking T-Rex, I'm like, what the fuck is that? I remember like screaming out loud like, Jesus.
Yeah I'm pretty sure,
again, not horror, but it was just like the draw, just it's like it's like a pop scare, like oh geez, I didn't know you were there.
Yeah,
you got me.
Tomb Raider, like there's a lot of times when like the wolves would come out of nowhere kind of stuff. They kept that consistent in the original, like the first like 3 Tomb Raider games. Like every time there was an animal, it's like, oh fuck, where'd it come from? Because not the best graphics in the world, not the best draw distance, as he said.
So it's not there, and then all of a sudden it's there. It's like, Jesus, where the hell did that thing come from? Like, how did I not see a fucking T-Rex like 10 feet away from me?
Right. Those are kind of like the main 3 games that were coming to mind. But so you're not super big into horror games.
I wouldn't say. Well, it depends on what they are. Like, I've watched playthroughs of like not Amnesia, the one where you're like a reporter and you're going through the insane asylum. Outlast. Like, I watched that. Like, I don't think. I mean, like, I couldn't reproduce and enjoy myself doing it how like a lot of like, Markiplier and them do it, where they're in a dark room, they have their super expensive headset with the sound cranked up. No, I couldn't do that. I would like Five Nights at Freddy's, just like loud thing. I couldn't do it.
Those are just silly jump scare games. Outlast, like a lot of people give Outlast more credit than it deserves. Like I played through it. It had some good moments. It had some good tension, but there was a lot of it that just devolved to jump scares, and jump scares just don't do anything for me because usually I can expect it. And even if I'm not expecting it, it's like, I expected that kind of stuff. But I will give Outlast some credit. It did, it had some good moments. I enjoyed the fact that I did play it. It took me a while to give it a chance. But I was like, I'll see what everybody's going on about.
I mean, but like I say, like a lot of that stuff where it's just like you look down the hallway to the left, there's nothing there, and then you look to the right. Like I hate that type of gaming because it's just like there was nothing I could do. Like at least Resident Evils and Silent Hills, like you can avoid stuff. You're just like, oh, creepy babies with knives. I'm just gonna run around you and keep going.
Sometimes.
Well, sometimes obviously there's forced encounters, but
like
there's an element of skill involved or some kind of strategy where Outlast and those type of games are just literally just run for your life.
Yeah.
And once you get to a certain point, they don't run it. They can't chase you anymore.
Yep.
So that's why I say like I would say so to say like I don't like them. No.
Sure.
I mean, sorry. No, that's incorrect. I like them. It's just certain styles. No, F that. No.
Right.
Like I play Resident Evil in the daytime with the lights on, but I still enjoy the game, and it's still creepy.
Mm-hmm.
And you get these people like, oh no, if you're gonna play Silent Hill, you got to be like middle of the night, all the lights off, crank the stereo. Like
I do think that's a good way to play because you can like really like engross yourself. There's no distractions. Like it's just the screen and what they're presenting. Like that, I think that is a benefit with horror games of particularly playing like in the dark. I mean, I keep curtains up anyway, so even when it's daytime, it's still kind of dark in my game room. But I think it helps. I think it heightens things up. If you're not willing to play a game in the dark, it kind of says the game's doing something right.
Well, that or I'm just a little scared little baby. I mean, like I can watch a horror movie in the dark. That's fine, but like when I actually have to like keep using the controller, and I'm like, there's something around that corner. I don't want to go there.
You're more involved with the
tension is certainly there.
Yeah, it's great. And I'm sure. I know I've talked about this game on the podcast before, but I want to mention it again. Not necessarily like straight horror. I mean, it's pretty damn close. Sci-fi horror, I would say. But with a stipulation, an asterisk on this game. Alien Isolation.
Okay.
A lot of people have played it. Some people haven't. Alien Isolation is a first person, kind of it's not a walking sim because there is combat and stuff like that. But when the game was getting ready to come out, I don't remember if there's something in the game that said this or if there's something that I read from the developers, but they're like, hey, play this on hard for the best experience. The game's going to default on normal because we don't want to push people, but play it on hard. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a shot on hard. And I've since seen the difference between hard and normal. This game is... The harder difficulty makes this game. It like the tension is just upped so much because the alien is so much more aggressive. They provide you less tools to dispatch or chase away the alien. So essentially you are being stalked this whole game. And it's amazing. I've mentioned it before, Alien Isolation on hard. I always say on hard is one of my favorite horror games of all time, just because it's so intense and it's so well made too. Sometimes, I mean, the AI is not always perfect in kind of these games where it's like stalking you but trying to not cheat because it's an AI, so it's programmed So sometimes you might sit there for a few minutes before you're like, oh, can I go out? Nope. Okay, I'm gonna back up. You gotta wait. No, I can't go. Kind of stuff happens a lot. But oh man, just what a fantastic experience. It's like, and I'm repeating myself, the definitive Alien franchise video game experience is Alien Isolation. Like, just nailed it on the head, made it right in so many ways. Like, I can't praise this game enough. So good.
Another one I'd like to mention is me and a mutual friend of ours, Ryan, I think last year, maybe 2 years. No, it was last year. Or no, when did Resident Evil 8 come out?
7 was last year.
Or sorry.
Beginning of 2017.
Yeah, okay, so last year. So right before Resident Evil 7 came out, I was like, hey, we should do something together. So me, him, and his at then time lady friend, I brought over my PS3, and I wanted to play. I had it for a long time, and I never played it. I was like, oh, I really want to play the Silent Hill Downpour.
Yes.
And so we played that, and the atmosphere was okay. It's got the misty town. I thought the gameplay suffered.
I really liked it,
but there was a couple spots where me and Ryan were both like, we both jumped. It was like, and his lady friend starts laughing. She's like, "You should have seen it. Both of you jumped at the same time." And then later when Resident Evil 7 came out, I had some of my one of my online friends from Final 14 who lives in England came out to visit for a week, and he is the biggest horror movie game whatever baby there is. And so we went over to, and luckily Ryan had just upgraded it to a like 70-inch TV. And so it was me, Ryan, my buddy Carl, his girlfriend, and Casey, Ryan's then wife, and we blackened the room and played Resident Evil 7. And oh my god, yeah, it was, like you say, definitely worth it playing it in the dark, because my buddy Carl from England was like literally holding a pillow like over his face, so like, like that, when we were kids, like you're like, if I just kind of hide behind this and try to look, it's not as scary. The whole, like, for the whole 4 or 5 hours it took from start to finish of that game, he was hiding behind that pillow.
Funny. Actually, I think the game was longer than that.
Or whatever. I mean, whatever the amount of time was, I don't remember.
Sure.
We started it from start, and then because of course I'm like, anybody else want to try? They're like, no, you keep playing. We're everyone was too scared in the room for playing the game. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, and I just want to go back to Silent Hill Downpour.
Sorry. Yeah.
General opinions, like, a lot of people don't like the game, but I thought I went into it kind of, I didn't have high expectations. And like you said, it's not an amazing game by any means, but overall, I'm even looking at the review that, long before like I was doing YouTube or anything, I used to just, type up my thoughts on a post on social media. And even in there, it's like, it was able to kind of keep me on my toes, kind of, you don't know when the next, creature was going to, show up. Because you're kind of like stalked during the game, like when the downpours happened, like these creatures would come out a lot of times, and they kind of wander around and stuff. And I think overall, I think it's worth the play if you're a Silent Hill fan. You just don't expect Silent Hill 2 by any means, but it's fun.
I'm definitely not saying it was terrible. Definitely not saying it was terrible. It was enjoyable. I mean, it wasn't as good, but it was still fun to play.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I thought I had one other, and I think I just lost it.
It was there. Now it's gone.
Damn it. Yeah, the main thing was I was trying to just not go to like some of the usual like
exactly
mentions. Even stuff like Haunting Grounds, it tends to get mentioned a lot. PS2. horror game, kind of a follow-up by the same people who made the Clock Tower games.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pricey PS2 game now as well. But yeah, I don't know. I think
Have you ever played Indigo Prophecy?
not yet. I do want to play that game. That being the first, like I think it's the first Quantic Dream game.
That has some really weird parts to it.
Yes, they made Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, Detroit Become Human. A lot of people say Indigo Prophecy was one of the best games that Quantic Dreams has made. So
I just remembered another creepy game that I kind of got the heebie-jeebies from. God, what is it called? It was on the 360, and they made 2 of them. You're like this detective guy, and you have to investigate. Oh, what the heck is it called?
360.
It's first person.
It's not like the Condemned games or something. I think those are like straight up horror games, though.
The Condemned.
Yeah, I think there's like two of those or something.
Golly.
There's a lot of like lesser known like straight horror games. A bunch I still need to play. As much as I do love horror games, I tend to try to occupy my time.
Condemned.
Oh, okay.
That game is really fucking creepy.
Yeah, I think I started playing one of those on PC, and I think I just like wasn't vibing with me right at the time, and not that I wasn't like didn't think it was a good game. I just didn't continue playing it. And this was years ago, like when I was kind of doing that with a lot of games.
I saw if you have another one, go for it. But I just saw looking up this list, it saw one of my favorites.
Okay, what you got?
Deadly Premonition.
Oh, I didn't finish it. I was playing it for a couple hours and I got sidetracked. I pre-ordered the director's cut. It was the second release of the game or whatever.
We should almost get together and play that.
But at the same time, I feel like I need to watch, and people are gonna be like, "What? You haven't watched fucking Twin Peaks?" I've never seen Twin Peaks, and there's
what the fuck is wrong with you?
I know, right?
I'm definitely not being on the next podcast. This is bullshit. You have ruined everything. You are. Oh my god.
I'm a huge fan of
When we're done with this podcast, you get on Netflix and you put it in your list.
Yeah.
Do it now. Hell.
Do it
it's
now.
on Netflix.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I know a lot about it. I just haven't seen it, but the funny thing is, I've seen all of Lynch's movies and stuff. I just haven't seen the show. But I know there's a lot. Deadly Premonition draws inspiration from Twin Peaks.
Oh god, it's damn near the whole thing, except for like the end boss and stuff like that. But that is the game that turned me on to that's the Swery, right? Oh, yeah, Swery, yeah, the studio, yep.
Or the
guy who does
the guy.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, and I think around the same time as when I started noticing like Suda 51 as well, because I was like, hey, here's two kind of developers that are starting or directors or whatever that are starting to kind of get notable. Like I mentioned, like I do want to try to pay attention to some of these personalities more. And it's neat to kind of see these are the guys who are doing the experimenting with games and making kind of some polarized games. Like some people just they won't like these kinds of games because they're weird. I like weird.
If you don't give them a chance, how do you say you don't like them?
Right,
I mean, not you personally, but maybe just people in general. And as a question, I'm looking at this list here that I brought up for. Have you ever played Silent Hill Homecoming? I have never played that one. I don't know what that one's about.
That was one that I started, and I think that was a pirated one, and I think I had an issue with the ISO or something, and I never finished it. I've heard a lot of people. That's one that tends to get more negative reviews, but it's one that I do intend to play. I think I believe I have it now.
In the next couple of weeks, we should set up a weekend where we just I'll hang out at your house for the weekend and we just you or whatever, we just crank out some horror games, because I think we need to do that.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of horror games out there I still need to play too. And some more recent ones I've picked up even. There is a pixel art, kind of like retro side scroller, made by Jasper Byrne, who is mostly known for his new retrowave music. Some of his music was featured on the Hotline Miami soundtracks. He made this game called The Lone Survivor, which Limited Run did a release for. That's how I actually learned about the game.
Yeah, I have that digitally on my PlayStation library.
I hear that's supposed to be pretty neat. And there's a few other games like that. And then there's a few other kind of like walking sim sort of games that Limited Run's just released lately. Nautica was one. They did Layers of Fear. That's kind of neat. But yeah, there's some other stuff. Like, I never finished Eternal Darkness on GameCube.
Okay.
For some reason, I don't know why. Like,
I didn't really think it was that scary, though. A lot of people attribute it to like horror. I'm like, no.
Like,
it's an interesting game, but
yeah, I love the like psychosis thing.
Insanity meter.
Yeah, the insanity meter. Like, I thought that was really neat, but yeah, it just wasn't like. I mean, I think a lot of people who really like latched onto that game were like, the people who bought a GameCube. I bought a PlayStation 2, so I'd been, and I came from PlayStation 1, so I'd long been already playing like, these third-person horror games.
Yep.
Where I think this was kind of like a newer thing for a lot of Nintendo exclusive kind of people. Like, yeah, they had Resident Evil 2 on the 64, but I didn't really know many people that had Resident Evil 2 on the 64.
Well, I mean, granted, I've played it. I beat it, Eternal Darkness, and it was a good game. Like, it was fun to go through. But I think how you're describing it, how people like, some people just really fanatic it up. I think it's kind of like the people who watch Army of Darkness or The Evil Dead and really love it.
Watch your mouth.
No, I will not watch my mouth.
I fucking love the Evil Dead movies.
I love those movies, but there are a lot of people who look at them and go, that's campy crap. Why would you ever watch that?
Yeah, and I'm not friends with those.
It's the cult. That's why it's, there's movies that are like, Friday the 13th is not a cult classic. That's just great horror. Like, that's appreciated for what it is. Evil Dead is a cult classic. It's something that's more niche. It's more, the fans love it, but people outside of that are like, eh.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's my opinion. I'm not saying that's fact, but so I think Eternal Darkness is the same vein. It's like you say, whether you had a GameCube instead of a Sony or yada yada. I think the people that played it back in the day and experienced all that stuff, because again, it was one of those titles I didn't know about till way later. I was like, let me go play this. Well, now that I have more disposable income, and I've never heard of this before, because again, I was like you, I didn't own a GameCube. I was in the Sony brand. I was in the Sony wheelhouse, and so that's why I think a lot of people are like, oh my God, Eternal Darkness. And then when you play it, you're like, I think you guys kind of overhyped this, or really oversold it to what it's not. It's not a horror. It's not. It has horror elements, like there's scary parts to it, but not anything where you're like, I'm not feeling creeped out. I don't have the heebie-jeebies. There's not even any pop scares. It's just, but I agree with you is that the fact that it would fuck with you, the more insane you got, as your character got more insane if you didn't take care of that. Like, your memory card's been wiped. There's nothing there.
Yeah. Kind of stealing a note from good old Kojima.
Yeah.
Just to some extent there. But
Hideo Cam.
Yeah. Great shit. There's some, good, even a lot of the Metal Gear games even have some great kind of like horror moments. Especially like a Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, when you're dealing with the sorrow.
I was thinking that. I was like, I wonder if he's going to say that part. Yep.
Such a cool part. And like, I had no idea. Like, and then, holy shit, I'm walking in this fucking river of dead and shit. What the hell is going on? Like, that's pretty neat.
And then, of course, if you play a pacifist route, then there's nothing.
Yes.
You're just like, I'm walking through this river while this thing's floating above me. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't have many because I didn't sometimes it's like whatever.
The only reason I know that is because I've watched a playthrough. So it wasn't like I'm like, oh, I went through the whole game myself. I'm better than. No, I was like, I would have never known that if I not watched someone go, if you didn't kill anybody, there's nobody here.
Right. And I always play pacifist in Metal Gear.
Really? See, if
always
you give me all these fucking weapons and you're like, but don't use them. Like, then why are you?
If I'm playing a stealth game, I'm going no kill if at all possible. I think in Metal Gear 5, I kind of gave up because it was like whatever. I knew that there was going to be a lot of extra stuff for that game, but it just kind of got to the point where it's like, man, there's just too much to try to constantly stealth everything, because 5 was just such a massive game. But Metal Gears, Tenshus, even like both Dishonored games, I played no kill.
Oh wow!
Although the first Dishonored I got screwed, which was kind of unfair. The very first event in the game, when you start Dishonored, you're hanging out with the queen or the princess or whatever, and she gets assassinated, and you're present and you deal with the assassin. Well, I didn't even think about it. I figured that was a story moment, so I killed him. So I didn't get the achievement. I went through the entire rest of the game. Like some areas, like I restarted over and over and over so I could get through it without killing somebody, and beat the game and didn't get the achievement. And I was like, you fuckers. You got me. You tricked me.
Some dirty pool.
Yeah. Dishonored 2, even I struggled with that game too a few times, because when you would like save during a level and leave the game and loaded the game back up again, what I figured out was the game would essentially reset like the body positions.
Mm-hmm.
So what was happening was, hey, here's a guy who originally was kind of standing near this ledge, and I would take him out and drag him away and stash the body. Well, I'd leave the game, and then when I reloaded the game, he would respawn at that location, but unconscious, and ragdoll effects would make him fall off the cliff, and then he would die. Jeez. That happened to me in like 2 different levels in Dishonored 2. But yeah, I mean, shit, even Dishonored games, like even those have like some like little horror sections. I mean, they're kind of darker games to begin with, but I always think that's fun when you kind of, a lot of games will do like little horror sections. I mean, shit, even Super Mario games try to do like, the haunted houses and stuff.
Yeah, the ghost houses, yeah.
It's fun. Like, you got a game and they're like, you know what, let's throw in a horror level because horror is the shit. So, yeah.
Any other honorable mentions you got, or
nothing coming to mind at this exact moment.
Well, then let's move on to the community question then.
Yes. So, last time we asked what your favorite snack was. Simple, straightforward question. It doesn't always have to be thought provoking, but I like this question because I think I'm kind of odd when it comes to my snack choices for gaming. So it's always fun to kind of hear what people did. So before our answers, let's check out what we got for community comments, and we'll talk about ours. So again, huge thanks to Do You Nerd for their comment. They said, favorite gaming snack, trail mix, good variety for long sessions so you're not tired of the same flavor. Pour some in a small cup and quote unquote drink it so you don't have to make your fingers messy. And even though it's probably not, you don't feel as bad eating a bunch of it because it's healthy or ish.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yes, I do that with cereal sometimes. I'll put like not in a cup, but I'll just do a bowl, and I'll just kind of like, I got a quick second, like, between a moment in the game where I can just like pour a little bit being gluttonous and lazy. But they pointed to my one of the main things with me in snacks is I'm a very what I call I don't know if there's a term for it, but I call myself a clean eater, where I don't like getting my hands greasy or grease on my face when I'm eating. Like I always have like a paper towel or a napkin. Like my hands are always clean even if I'm eating messy food. I'm constantly cleaning my hands, and I hate a greasy controller.
Oh yeah, who doesn't?
So, so having hands-free snacks. I love popcorn, but man, popcorn and video games just do not go together unless you can pour it.
Well, I mean, you can get around that. Like I found if you make your own popcorn and you butter it up, yeah, you're gonna have buttery. But like if you buy like store brand, like that's already pre-made, and they kind of put like basically, I mean, unless the bag says we use real butter, like just get a bag of already popped popcorn and just pour it in. Like it's usually not that greasy. I mean, you might get a little salt on you, but because that's always a big like, oh god,
you do a quick finger lick and wipe it on the side of your shirt or on your pants.
If I snack on something I know that's going to have any type of residue, like you say, I don't want a greasy, mucky controller. I'll make sure I have some like towel paper next to me so I can wipe my hands. Like if I'm like, crap, I'm not quite ready to eat a meal yet, but I want something to snack on. Yeah, I kind of like do that. But
for sure. Then we got a comment from a back in the day gamer, and he says lately his favorite snack has been nerd rope. It's red licorice covered in nerds. He also likes the sweet tart ropes. So yeah, basically
that sounds amazing.
They're great.
I've never heard of that.
Really? Yeah, they've been around for a long time.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's not like your standard licorice. Like I'm not big on the licorice, but it's more like these thin ropes, like licorice ropes.
Mm-hmm.
There is a specific candy where you can get you can peel it apart. Licorice ropes, but yeah, it's just one of those with fucking nerds stuck to it. And I like nerds. I like kind of like the like sweet tarts, Smarties. I don't know if there's other terms for them, but
no, that's what they're called. Yeah, Smarties.
Smarties are one of my favorite candies. Like just kind of that, the
chalky, powdery.
Yeah, I mean now like when you get sometimes like Halloween candy or Valentine's Day candy, they'll have like the cheap, like these like really generic wafers. Those are like chalk, like almost like Tums tasting. But something about like Smarties, oh my god, they're so good. And nerds kind of remind me of Smarties because it's basically just solid sugar.
No, sure. I was gonna say I could always go for Sixlets every now and then.
I've never been into Sixlets. It kind of had a generic chocolate taste to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're not high quality by any means, but it's just like, they pop them in and just, But now I want to search this out. I've never heard of nerd ropes. That's why I was just like, what is this? Something you did at home? And you're like, no, they've been around. Like, well, fuck me. I mean, I have to admit though, I'm not a huge sugar guy. Like every now and then I'll get a hankering for a donut or some ice cream or some candy, but normally I'm a very big chips and crackers guy. Like I like crunch and salt.
Yeah, I'm a sweets kind of guy. I like candy. Like I don't buy candy a whole lot because
you'll just eat it.
Yeah, I just eat it. And that's kind of like a weird thing. It's like I'm not necessarily I don't snack. Like if I eat something, I need like something to like fill me up, like get rid of that urge, that like hunger, like by having something substantial. So I typically just eat typically I eat just 2 meals a day. Sometimes I'll have like a little snack at night. Actually, it's been more frequently, especially since I quit smoking. I find that at night, like I just like to have like, usually I just do a bowl of dry cereal and I just, kind of finger food kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I get candy, like I just, some people would buy like a little bag of M&Ms and they'll, eat it like 2-3 times, or I'm like, nope, well, that's one eating session right there, kind of stuff. So I try not to buy a whole lot of candy because I can't help myself.
Yeah, no, if I do some hardcore sessions on the computer or on the PlayStation, if I have too much of that, exactly, that's I mean, I've been dieting and doing really good, but yeah, I don't keep any chips or any crackers or any heck, there was like a month solid where I work a Monday through Friday and I have weekends off, and before I started school, I'd get done with work, go to Walmart, load up on like 3-4 bags of chips, and get a couple of those like family size like peanut M&Ms and all that.
Mhm.
And that's what I do. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
well, I have like 9 hours of Final Fantasy 14 coming, and I have everything on my desk, and just be like, while I'm doing stuff, just eating, and it's like
Chomping a big old bag of
Oh,
M&Ms
Jesus.
while drinking can after can of Mountain Dew.
diet Mountain Dew. Thank you. I have some class. Yeah.
I don't do that diet.
Well, when not that it's any better in the long run, pop's pop. It's still poison sugar water, but so now I drink delicious LaCroix because I still get my carbonation fix.
Yes.
But before me and you go into our favorite snacks, are there any other comments from the?
No other comments.
So have you? I'm assuming like you've already kind of like said one of yours, like the dry cereal.
That is one of them. That wasn't what I was going to specifically state. But this is actually kind of like why I tend not to buy a lot of candy. So really for the last few years, besides Smarties, kind of my main like candy that I like to get is sour bright crawlers.
Oh, okay.
Which are basically, they're kind of like they're not like sour. There's a little bit of sour to them. They're like very sugary, but essentially they're like gummy worms with kind of like this like sugary kind of like sour coating. I love like gummies. I'm very particular about like gummy worms and gummy bears, like certain brands like Black Forest or Trolley. Love but sour bright crawlers is like my main one. But as I was saying, like I usually get one of these bags and I'm like, okay, I'm going to only have a few of these because these are not good for you by any means. And it's just like okay, I'm gonna have another handful. Oh, now the whole entire bag's gone. While I just ate an entire bag of sour bright crawlers in a half an hour. So,
well, I mean, it's just sugar-coated sugar.
Yes, and hey, they're not greasy, so I don't usually have to wipe off my fingers. So
yeah, but those type when they're the sour crawlies and all that, they usually have the extra sugar, so you might get like granules of sugar. So you might have to do like a little like hand brush quick.
Yeah. So those those are mainly my gaming snacks.
Okay.
How about you?
Well, obviously, like I say, I'm a huge chip guy, so like 95 to 99% of all chips that are made are completely outright, unless I do like, so what I found is if I do chips, I can do just tortilla chips. Just like, corn tortilla chips, because there's light salt, there's no grease or film to them, they're just, what they are. So I won't dip them in salsa, but, I'll just, boom, get some, I can eat those. Otherwise, Cheez-Its. Not any of the flavored ones, just straight regular Cheez-Its.
Sure.
You get a little bit of grease on, but not like you say, like, do you just do like a little pant rub? Yeah. I can just like, boom, done. Fingers are clean.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like I say, M&Ms of some sort. But again, I have to be in the mood for the sugar.
Oh, I'm always in the mood for the sugar.
Yeah, like I'm the weird duck out of the group where it's like, hey, you want this candy? Like, nope. And they just look at you like, what are you, communist? Like, no, I have to be in the mood for sugar. Like I eat ice cream maybe once, maybe twice a year.
I don't eat ice cream a whole lot either. Although
there's
every once
some
in a while,
delicious ice creams out there, but
every once in a while I get a bug up my ass. And I'm like, I want to go buy a box of those Snickers ice cream bars.
Okay.
Oh my God, those things are so good.
Well, I mean, like every now and then, I like if I like me and ice cream. Like one of my favorite flavors is peppermint bonbon, that green with the chocolate, basically mint chocolate chip, whatever you want to call it. But butter brickle is like my go-to. Like if I can find a good one, that place that makes like a really good butter brickle, oh my God. But like I say, I don't do ice cream. I don't do. I mean, like I like pastries as much as the next guy, but I just like if you gave me $10 and said go buy whatever you want, it's going to be chips or crackers of some sort. That's my jam. And then, like you say, wash it down with Mountain Dew, Diet Mountain Dew.
Yeah, right on.
So thank you guys for your sponsors. I appreciate the input.
Absolutely. And then the question for the next week, I'm going to tie it into kind of what we were talking about earlier. So what is a great non-horror game horror moment? Like bigger segments, maybe not just like a particular, like, oh, here's a single enemy, but, think of, our Half-Life 2 Ravenholms or our End of Tenchu's, like, not a horror game, but has this really, like,
a creepy aspect to it.
And just as I mentioned, Half-Life, the first Half-Life, the fish or the water monster, like, holy crap, put me in water in a video game with a quick monster that's gonna come and kill you immediately, like, that shit will freak me out.
Yeah.
That's another gross. So then real quick here, I just kind of want to run through the releases coming out here in the next couple weeks for anybody who hasn't been keeping up on the lists. So I think this will probably be out by the time the podcast is up, but I already heard some of my friends getting pretty stoked about this. Soul Calibur 6 is being released. A lot of people are, looks like some people already got the game because I see how there's a create a character thing, and a lot of people are like already showing off their create a characters. So cool for them. Of course, I think the big release that most people are kind of keeping their eyes out for is Red Dead Redemption 2, which I am stoked for. So there is.
Finish Dragon Quest 11 before you can start that. So
absolutely, and that's why I am getting cracking because. Yeah, it comes out on the 26th, so I don't have much time. And then a game that I'm gonna kind of see. I hope that does well, because this is gonna be kind of what I hear, not necessarily from reviews, but from friends and what people are saying. But there is a new or a remake Call of Cthulhu game being released. I believe it had a different name for a little bit, and then they ended up changing it to Call of Cthulhu or something like that. So that's really it. And then November is kind of another big month for notable game releases. So, So then I guess before we wrap things up here, what do you got planned for the next couple weeks? Are you getting Red Dead 2?
No, I'm not. Being a starving student now, I have to really pick and choose my titles. So, especially with how much time I waste online on Final 14, I have to really start redirecting myself to getting back into playing my console games, which, like, here, I'm a super huge Dragon Quest fan, and you're 90 hours ahead of me. So that should tell you something about how my habits have been. You kind of go to your comfort food, as it were. But tomorrow that Castlevania comes out, right?
Yeah. No.
Is it the 19th, I thought?
No, I thought it was the 22nd.
Oh, darn. I was like, well, when that comes out, I'm definitely buying that. So, because, it's kind of like certain people in dessert. Like, you just had a huge Thanksgiving dinner, but you're like, I couldn't eat another bite, but like, here, I got dessert. And you're like, well, I can find somewhere to put that in my stomach. So Symphony of the Night is always something I can be like, I can always fit you in, baby. You're in.
Yes.
So I'm excited about getting that. I'll probably,
how do you feel about them using the original or the PSP language or audio? It's not the PlayStation 1 audio, so you don't get the "What is a man?"
Well, that's unfortunately sad, but if I really need that, I can just pop in my PS1 disc and hear that, or I can pop in my PSP disc and play it through that. Like,
Yeah, I got.
Or I can just bring up YouTube.
Yeah, true. Base game's still the same, so it doesn't matter too much.
I wish we could get the Saturn experience I keep hearing about, where there was the Maria quest and all that stuff.
And
but
the Secret Garden.
But I'm okay with that because the game is, like you said, the game itself is solid. I love playing it. It's kind of like how I have a yearly tradition where I beat Chrono Trigger. Just like, doesn't matter what time of the year, just be like, oh shit, it's 2018. Yeah. I have to crank out a Chrono Trigger run before 2019.
I dig it.
So
cool.
And you?
Yeah. So me, it's pretty much Dragon Quest for the next couple. Well, I really feel like I'm at the end of the game, but this game does a pretty good job of throwing some curveballs. So who knows? But I'm playing that if I can finish this and have a little bit of time before Red Dead Redemption 2, which I will be getting day one. I would like to try to maybe squeeze in Mega Man 11. I've heard a lot of people say 5-6 hours, if you don't struggle too much. Which I'm not too worried about. So I could definitely, squeeze that out over a couple days or, maybe a weekend or something. And, knock out another game from the backlog because it's kind of sitting there. It's like, hey, maybe you shouldn't buy new games if you can't play them. But I do it anyways because I can. And I want them. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's it for me. Then, I guess with that said, just want to let anybody listening who doesn't already know how to get a hold of us, how they can get a hold of us. So, of course, the podcast is hosted on SoundCloud as well as YouTube. So if you're listening to it on SoundCloud, a bunch of links on the right side to all the locations that I'm going to mention here. If you want to get a hold of me, of course, you can comment on YouTube, message me on Facebook, Twitter. I'm also on Instagram. If you would like to get a hold of Justin, you can leave a comment on the uploads of the podcast and it will get to him.
Or just shake a bag of Taco Bell. I'll come running.
Yeah. Loves his Taco Bell. So I think that's going to do it for this episode, this very spoopy episode of the Game Tenants Podcast.
It's such a stupid word.
It is. Unsubbed. So thanks for everybody for watching. Let us know your thoughts, leave comments, and we will talk to you next time.
Stay spoopy.